everybody. I'm waiting a few minutes because it takes a while for people to get here. Um, Sorry, distracted as I'm looking for stuff right now. Um, so I am Jax West from Stephen Avery Project, MAM Gossip, Justice with Jax. People always ask, who am I? I am nobody. I have no relation to family, and I am not a fan. I am a supporter. I like to make that distinction because a fan typically is just going to defend the Avery family, because a fan is somebody who watches Making a Murderer and then just goes off of that and that alone, and don't do their research to find out what the Avery family is really about. And I am somebody who has, oh, hello, Bryce, and hello, Julie, and hello, Denise. So I am live today because it was sent to me yesterday. All right, I'm going to stop getting distracted. I'm trying to look up information. It was sent to me last night, and I didn't get it until, because I wasn't online or whatever, so I didn't get it until like 5 this morning, that I didn't look at the message. But it was sent to me last night that Earl Avery, Stephen's brother, Earl is the baby of the Avery family, the baby Huey, that Earl has made some posts saying that, yes, he is preventing Stephen from talking to his father. Let me pull up exactly what it is that he has said. Hold on. Okay. Yoink. Okay. So there's somebody who made this post in another group that I believe is somebody who has been in on any of my pages before, and they have been banned because, as I always tell you all, that we believe and know Stephen is innocent, and that's that. We are not going to debate his innocence here. Katie, are you the one that had trouble hearing me before? The last time? Um, or was I just talking really low? I'll try. Usually I'm a very loud talker, so I don't know why I was talking low. So, all right. So this person that I'm not naming made a post. The screenshot that was sent to me says it was posted 2 days ago. I don't know if it's 2 days from yesterday. I just know it's 2 days from when the screenshot was taken. And the person says, so as I've always said, I will admit if I am wrong about something I've posted. Earlier I posted that it was false that Earl had stopped his pa visiting Stephen, but I understand now that this is in fact true. What people don't know is why Earl has stopped it. There is a justifiable reason, as I suspected there would be. I cannot and will not share, I'm afraid. All I will say is there are always two sides to a story. And then Earl Avery commented on it and said He tried to get me for elderly abuse with my mom when she was in the old folks' home. And then he tried to get me for elderly abuse a couple months ago with my dad twice. And that is all I'm saying on here. He is the angel. So, Earl saying that Stephen tried to get him for elderly abuse is not justifiable reason for Earl to try to stop Stephen from having contact with their father or their mother. These are the facts. Period. Earl and his children tried to prevent Stephen from having any contact with his mother when his mother was put in a home for her dementia. They claimed that their mother just didn't really know what was going on around her. They used an excuse of saying like she didn't even know what a telephone was, and they claimed that Stephen's calls would just upset her. Don't know what the full story is there, but they then tried to go to court and prevent Stephen from having any contact with his dying mother, who, if you've ever followed this case at all, you know that Dolores Avery was Stephen's biggest supporter. And Dolores would never want to cut off contact with her son. I myself visited with Dolores in person 2 times and had conversations with him about her son, or with her about her son. So I know from personal experience that Dolores would want to have contact with her son. We covered, somebody had FOIA'd a whole bunch of Stephen's jail calls. This is when he was in jail prior to his trial. You can go on the Justice with Jack's YouTube page where we play all of those calls and discuss them as we listen to them. But you will hear in those calls Dolores' love for her son. Is Stephen perfect? No, he's not. There are times that he would lash out at the ones he loves the most and get upset at even his mother. Try living Stephen's life. That at 22 years old, you're married with 4 children, 2 newborn twin baby boys, and you are taken from your family and accused of an attempted rape. That's a thing that people never understand in the Penny Bernstein case. She was not raped. It was an attempted rape. The woman was brutally beat, and the man attempted to rape her, but she fought him off. So Stephen was accused of a brutal rape, attempted rape. And then he served 18 years for something he did not do. In those 18 years, most of his family abandoned him, except for his parents. Now, when the Innocence Project, it was the Innocence Project, right? Freed him for being wrongfully incarcerated for the Penny Bernstein case. There's a lot of his family right there front and center, wanting to now cash in on the fame and the assumed fortune that Stephen would get. In my history with this case, I started out being friends and very supportive with the Avery family. I visited the salvage yard, and the family walked me through the salvage yard. While we were walking, a member of the family, a member by marriage, so Carla Avery, or Carla Chase is her married name, who, when Making a Murderer became a big deal, she then gave herself the title of the family spokesperson and bilked a whole lot of money from supporters. Carla Chase is Stephen's brother Chuck's daughter. And so when the first time that I went to the salvage yard, I met with Carla, her husband Stacy, Barb, her husband Scott Taddock. So Barb, who is Stephen's sister and Brendan's mother, and Scott Taddock, who was then Barb's husband, and Chuck. Now, Chuck didn't walk with us through the salvage yard, and Scott did not walk through the salvage yard. I walked with Carla and Stacy and Barb. And while we were walking, Stacy told me that the family hates Stephen. He said that when Stephen was in prison for Penny Bernstein, he was such a jerk to the family. And that is why the family cut Stephen off. He was a bully to them. But then, when he was released, the family all wanted to get on in good terms with Stephen because he was suing for $36 million. And the family wanted that money. So they said, or Stacy said, that Stephen treated them badly and they just took it because they wanted to get that money. I have talked about this in the past. I don't know how much of it is in my book. I know, shameless plug for Wrongfully Abused, Making an Advocate for Stephen Avery, that I self-published on Amazon. I believe I talked about all this in the book, and I have talked about it over the years that I have been advocating for this case. And I defend Stephen on being a jerk to his family. Why? Because he was in prison for 18 years for something he didn't do, and the family abandoned him. Not only did the family abandon him, but his brothers would talk to the press saying Stephen was guilty. They did this during Penny Bernstein, and then they did this again during Teresa Halbach. So Stephen has every right to be mad at his family and treat them like crap. So the family is just biding their time for those 2 years when Stephen was out in between Penny Bernstein and Teresa Halbach case. Then, when the Teresa Halbach case happened, the family jumped on it because they thought that Stephen would still get that $36 million from the Penny Bernstein case, and if Stephen was in prison, they would now get that money. So his family was happy to sell Stephen out because they wanted that $36 million. Now, Stephen was incarcerated from 2005, and then in December of 2015 is when Making a Murderer came out. And it became a big sensation within like 2 weeks of its release. And the family, who had abandoned Stephen all these years, then go and visit Stephen for the first time for Christmas in the prison of 2015. I have the visitors list. I know how many times family members went and visited Stephen, his mother and his father, and sometimes Barb would see Stephen. Not Chuck, not Earl. What up, Debbie? So when Making a Murderer becomes huge, these family members now want to be Stephen's BFF. And all these Facebook pages and groups and Reddit pages and all this stuff, Making a Murderer is huge. And you'll see that the Avery family is meeting up with supporters. Supporters are sending them gift cards, gifts, taking them out to dinner. I myself did things for the family when I first got involved, before I had looked deeper into things and saw who the family really are. Earl, you can Google Earl Avery and find out his history. And I pulled up on my second screen prior to going live because I wanted to talk about a couple of these things that over the years, I've gone over these things over and over again. And I know every day somebody new watches Making a Murderer for the first time. So they don't know all that we know that have been following the case. Now, I've only been following the case since Making a Murderer came out. But there are people like the person who originally started this page, Stephen Avery Project, who followed the case from when it happened. But we've looked at everything, so we know more. But once upon a time, I was just like the newbies, right? Who you can watch a video. It's up on my Justice with Jax YouTube of when my husband presented Earl, or not Earl, Chuck Avery with a gift. And in that video is Barb and Scott. And so when you watch Making a Murderer, you will see by the mailboxes at the salvage yard, there was a sign that said no trespassing. This very sign, no trespassing, private drive and property. It says in this corner, this is not the business road. And then it is signed Chuck Avery. So this actual sign you see in Making a Murderer. My husband owns a print shop. And he was very bothered by this handmade sign. And so, oh my God, Red Lobster, I forgot about that too. So one of the times my husband and I went up there, he made a real sign that would tell people private property that they couldn't drive down the road that the trailers they live in was on. And so my husband made the sign, and he made it so it matched the one that's out on the highway. And he wrapped it, and so you can watch the video. Maybe Christopher, if you go find it on the YouTube page, and post the link here. So he, on the video, we're standing at Chuck's, where Chuck was living, where I believe Chuck still lives, and it's the trailer that Barb had been living in, and Brendan had been living at the time, but now Chuck lives there. And so you'll see Barb and Scott standing with Chuck as Chuck opens this gift of this new sign that my husband made for him. And my husband made them the salvage yard business cards. Didn't charge him for, just gave them these signs that after then they kept asking us for more or more cards. I have one of those cards somewhere. I don't know if I'll be able to find it now. But I know I have one of them. But anyway, so once upon a time, I defended this family, all of them, and did things for them. So I was just like everyone else. I have never met Earl Avery. Now, Earl and I have messaged before. Earl sent me some threats, and it's really funny because a day that Earl was threatening me, I was literally at an event where Brendan's attorneys, Stephen Drizzen and Laura Nyrider, were speaking at. And after the event, I went up and talked to Drizzen and Nyrider. And actually, I had a picture taken with them at that time. I don't know if that picture's in my book, because I put a whole bunch of pictures in the book. And I even showed Drizzen at that time that I was getting those texts from Earl while this was going on. And Drizzen advised me, he's like, just ignore it. So Earl likes to threaten me. And actually Chuck messaged me a threat once too. I'm getting distracted now by trying to find if the picture is in this book. Oh, see, I should like um plan this stuff up better. But anyway, okay, so over the years, I have talked about Earl Avery and who Earl is. And let me read what I have on my other page here. Um, Let me get the link and paste it into here. Um, this is the first thing I found on it. It's on Reddit um, about Earl. And so it says Earl Avery charged with recording adults, children as young as 3 years old, using his bathroom. The brother of one of Wisconsin's most notorious convicts is accused of videotaping adults and kids as they changed in the bathroom during a pool party at his Whitelaw home. Earl Avery, 41, is charged with 2 counts of capturing an image of nudity without consent. The victims were as young as 3. According to a criminal complaint filed last month in Manitowoc County, Earl Avery's wife, Candy Avery, found the camera in his dresser drawer, watched the recordings, and then informed authorities. He set up the camera in what appeared to be a laundry basket, based on the grid visible in the camera view, the complaint said. When questioned by authorities, he took responsibility for what he did, according to the complaint. He said he was having problems with sex, the complaint said. He said he knew it was wrong and, quote, stopped himself before it went further, unquote, the complaint said. He also said he tried to burn the tapes, but burned the wrong one, the complaint said. Deputies also searched the family salvage yard and seized a laptop, 2 unmarked DVDs, and 2 power cords. An initial appearance is scheduled for January 30. No home number could be found for Earl Avery. Online court records state he was referred to a public defender, but no name was listed in the case. A message left at the Manitowoc County Public Defender's Office was not immediately returned. So, Earl set up a camera to videotape his 3 daughters and their friends changing into bathing suits. That's the first thing. On that, let me find, because I've got a second page on this other thing. Where is it? That's that. Because then there's also a court case. um, of when Earl abused Candy Avery. Where is it? Okay, so is it on here? Hold on. Let me click on this link. Yeah, but wait, Lauren, there's more. What is this? Okay. On this page, something called Making a Murderer Fandom. I don't know. Let me put that link here that I'm about to read to you. Thank you, Maria. I saw that had popped up there that you were sending. In Wisconsin, you can go search and read about cases. And so and that's something over the years I have taken screenshot after screenshot of all the different Avery stuff that you can find on there. Get off here, advertisement. All right, so I just want to read the Earl Avery section. This is my first time ever going on this page, so I don't know exactly what it says or whose website this is or what I'm about to read. But I am just going to read it because when I'm searching the Earl Avery abusing his wife, this is one of the first things that comes up that will tell you about it. Born on 30 November 1969 as the youngest child of Ellen and Dolores. Together with his brother Charles, he co-owns the Avery Auto Salvage business. One of his known tasks on the yard was operating the car crusher. Earl lives away from the Avery property with his wife Candy. They have not been married for a long time. So he is the father of Kayla and Brittany and stepfather of Murray. Earl pleaded no contest to battery after beating and choking his wife during an argument. He served 10 days in jail and 18 months probation. In 1995, he was charged with and pleaded no contest to fourth-degree sexual assault and battery of his two daughters, serving 45 days in jail and 3 years probation. Earl Avery was also charged in 2011 of videotaping children and adults as they changed in the bathroom during a party. Earl admitted to the charges and was sentenced to 6 months in jail and probation. In 2013, he was found guilty of driving while intoxicated and fined. I'm just going to continue reading everything that this website says on it, on Earl. Earl, like his older brother Charles, initially believed in Stephen's innocence, but also had doubts. In a February 2006 recorded call, Earl challenged Stephen, who allegedly initially denied Halbach had visited him, in the first season of Making a Murderer, which chronicles much of Avery's trial. Earl is never seen visiting his brother's trial. In a 2006 interview, Earl was quoted saying, quote, "Now, Stephen's no longer my brother. He can rot in hell," unquote. About his nephew Brendan Dassey's role in all this, Earl was quoted saying, quote, "Brendan, he was always like that. If you would tell him to do something, he would do it, especially with a manipulative guy like Stephen," unquote. And later is quoted saying, quote, "Brendan was forced on it. I do not blame it on the kid at all. He was scared because Stephen threatened him," unquote. Following the release of Making a Murderer in late 2015, Earl was back believing in his brother's innocence. In 2021, following the passing of his mother Dolores, Earl posted on the family's official Facebook group, quote, "Hi, mommy is gone now, and I can start telling the truth. That fucker is a psychopath," unquote. When another person responded, quote, "You okay, Earl? This is very unexpected," unquote. Earl replied, quote, "No, I am not okay. I got a psychopath that keeps threatening my family, and his name is Stephen Avery, the convicted murderer," unquote. In another post, Earl wrote that he no longer considers Stephen Avery his brother. So, this is Earl Avery, who is against Stephen, but is with him when he thinks he's going to get $36 million. And that he has preyed upon the Stephen supporters. And then when Dolores got ill and the family put her in a home, Stephen just wanted to talk to his mother. And Earl took Dolores from Stephen, from just having a phone call with his dying mother. They took Dolores away from Stephen for the final year of her life. And now Earl is doing that with their father, Alan. Alan was regularly going and visiting Stephen because a couple of two other people that I know of I would pick him up and take him to the prison. But Earl Avery now has power of attorney over Alan Avery and is blocking Stephen from having contact. I just saw Anna's. Uh, yeah. Chuck was seen with Bobby at the turnaround with the RAV4 when the RAV4 was removed from the salvage yard and where it was left for days and reported to Andrew Colborne. This family, other than the parents, have never been supportive of Stephen. They have used it as an opportunity for personal gain. So they stole his mother away, and now they're taking his father away. While Stephen rots in prison for something he didn't do. And Chuck and Earl get richer. When I talked to Stephen last week, he told me that Chuck was actually on his side on the dad situation. But if that is true, then Chuck should be doing something about it. There's only so much Stephen can do in prison to try to fight this. Chuck should pick his dad up and take him to the prison to visit Stephen if he feels what Earl is doing is wrong. So last week I found out about this, and now last night I see that Earl is trying to do damage control and has somebody posting, see, there's two sides to it. What's your side, Earl? What's your side, Earl? Stephen called in for elder abuse? He should. If you're keeping your elderly father away from his son, that is abuse. The birth order is, I believe, oh my God, it's been a long time since I thought of this. I believe it is Chuck, Stephen, Barb, Earl. I think. Chuck is the oldest and Earl is the youngest. Um, yeah, okay, Bryce agrees with me. That's what I believe it is. Chuck, Stephen, Barb, Earl. Earl has everything. He has all the toys. He's bragged to me in messages back and forth to me, bragged to me about the many cars he has and the his boats and multiple homes, all, so people always assume because Averys live in trailers that they're poor. They're not poor. Now they play that up because they want people who watch Making a Murderer to send them money. Um, Not poor. Earl barely ever worked. Chuck is the one that did the work at that salvage yard. Stephen would love to be doing the work at the salvage yard. Earl just got a check. He would drive around with his friend in his mom's golf cart shooting stuff. In talking about Debbie bringing up, she wonders if Earl crushed the RAV4. When I was taking that walk in the salvage yard and Stacy Chase was telling me that the family all hated Stephen, um, he told me that if somebody wanted to get rid of the RAV4, what they would have done is it would have been crushed into this little box, you know, and then that would have been put in another vehicle, and then that would have been crushed, and you never would see it again. While Stephen has a low IQ, go ahead, Bryce, spell on here how when Earl was messaging me, how I don't even remember exactly what he said to me on trying to say he was smarter than I was, and then how he spelled IQ. I really should find those screenshots. I haven't looked at them in years. I have them somewhere. Um, and now I've gotten distracted, but um, Earl's just sat back and lived high on the hog. And supports Stephen when he can make money. But he doesn't like Stephen. You know, as Stacy told me, Stephen's mean to them. Stephen should be mean to them. These are the people who cut him off and would go to press saying he was guilty. Then, when Making a Murderer is a hit, then they want to be back with Stephen. Now, I've had arguments with Stephen over the years about his family. He would talk to me about things that his family would do. And then I would say something bad about his family, and then he's like, but they're my family. So Stephen still wouldn't just cut these people off, even though they were doing these horrible things, saying these horrible things about Stephen. He was still giving his loyalty to his family. But I can't sit by and be silent when when Stephen sits in prison and Earl is going to try and get out there and say anything negative about Stephen. And I know Earl said something about, oh, Stephen's an angel or whatever. Stephen can be an asshole. The guy should be angry. The guy should be angry at his brothers. So I'm I'm not I'm not faulting Stephen on that. Stephen, there's times Stephen likes me, times Stephen doesn't like me. There's been times Stephen has said things about me. Guess what? I don't hold it against him. Never have. Stephen doesn't have to like me. I get it. I also not perfect. I'm an asshole. Fully admit it. So, uh Stephen's had issues with me over the years. People have lied to him about me. Um, and I say things about his family that there's times Stephen doesn't like. Got it. Oh boy, Bryce says snow is starting here. So Bryce and I both live in Illinois, but he's down south, which surprisingly, um, he's going to get hit way worse than I am up here by Chicago with snow. I hope everybody who's in the path of bad weather here in the States um, weather the storm. Does Steven still talk to Barb? Now, I haven't really talked to Steven in years. I talked to him on Monday. And that picture that I saw that prompted me to go live on Monday to talk about this, if Alan was being taken from Stephen, Stephen told me he got that picture from Barb. Oh, and raining in the UK. Bryce now sends stars. Thank you, everybody who's sending stars. I don't even know what the stars thing is. I know, but thank you. And I see Christopher has been responding to people who have sent stars. So thank you for the stars, for the support. So I can't speak on behalf of Stephen because I did not have a good relationship with Stephen. So I can only tell you what he told me on Monday is that he got that picture of his dad from Barb. When he got that picture, I don't know. And I know from when I had gotten all the visitor records from when Stephen went into prison and to, I think, 2 years after Making a Murderer came out, that Barb did sometimes visit Stephen. Barb's got a love-hate relationship with Stephen. Barb also has the low IQ that many in the Avery family have. And so there's times that she thought Stephen was guilty and she thought Stephen was innocent. But there's also times that she thought Brendan was guilty. So while I say that, Earl does the back and forth, Earl does the back and forth as a piece of shit. Barb does the back and forth because when she's told by law enforcement that Brendan confessed, she believes it at first. And then she wants to lash out at Stephen, since according to how these cases were tried, Brendan is with Stephen in Brendan's case. In Stephen's case, there's no Brendan, which I just will never understand. We've talked about this over and over again. And I don't get how two people can be charged for the same crime but completely different scenarios and convicted by the same prosecutor. So wouldn't that let's slap Barb. Where is that sticker? I have that sticker here somewhere. Let's slap Barb. Yeah, we've been upset with Barb over the years. I usually have it right here by my desk, but I don't see it right now. But Barb, you see it in Making a Murderer, where she then thinks Brendan is guilty because she thinks Brendan's confessed. But then you also see Brendan claw it back right away. So Barb of little IQ is easily manipulated. She is just as easily manipulated as her son. Stephen actually has a lower IQ than Brendan. but he has more life experience. So, Earl, yeah, Debbie still has the sticker. I have a whole bunch of the stickers here. We used to sell, I told you my husband has a print shop. So I used to do an Etsy store where we we sold uh various stickers. I mean, during COVID and when we did the rally, we even have Justice for Stephen face masks. Uh, I mean, my husband made this shirt that I'm wearing. Lankshot Kennedy, sweat DNA found on grassy knoll. I don't even remember what the back of my shirt says. Um, so one of the stickers he made was "Let's slap Barb" because it was something that people continually said when I think when we were going over all the jail calls is when the "Let's slap Barb" thing started. Um, but Earl. I'm directing this to Earl because Earl will watch this. Earl watches everything that I do, and so does Carla. Everybody say hello to Earl and Carla. Um, Earl, why do you feel the need to take Alan away from Stephen? Nobody's asking you to bring Alan to the prison because we know you won't go. I don't think um Stephen even wants to see you, Earl. So nobody's asking you. Oh, you still have free Brendan sticker on your car. Yeah, my husband and I ran the free Brendan Facebook page. I haven't updated that though in years and years. Um, this is actually something my husband had made that we did. We did hashtag I am Brendan Dassey. And we're asking people to post pictures of themselves holding a I am Brendan Dassey. Um, Earl, you don't have to like Stephen. You don't have to have anything to do with Stephen. You are already profiting off of everything that your dad built. You get it all. You and Chuck are on the salvage yard. Stephen's not on the salvage yard. Bryce, who is it that is on Alan's Crivet's home? Is it Earl that is listed as the owner, like Earl and a daughter, I believe Kayla? Um, Earl, you're already getting everything. You already have everything. Why not let Stephen talk to his father and see his father? Will Stephen talk shit about you to your dad? Sure, and he should. But truthfully, there's nothing Stephen can do to hurt you, Earl. You guys manipulated your father years and years ago. You got it all. So just let Stephen have visits with his dad. Let Sandy or Mark pick him up and take him on a visit with Stephen. There is no downside for you. Will Alan maybe get pissed at you? Maybe. But what can Alan do to you? You already own his salvage yard and you own his home. And you have power of attorney over him. You have everything, Earl. Stephen has nothing. Stephen has lost his freedom. He lost his wife. He lost his children. He lost his home. He lost his mother. And now you're taking his father. Why, Earl? Rob, I don't know when is the last time Steven talked to his dad. I totally forgot to ask him that. In the um your a phone call's only 20 minutes long. And so like I also didn't ask Steven why he hasn't been talking to me all these years, because at the end of the day, does it really matter? Um it doesn't really matter why of course I'd like to know why he was upset with me, or it could still be upset with me. I don't know. Um but it's not important. I wanted to know if it was true that his father was taken from him, because I am like the only person who goes public against the Avery family. It truly bothers me to take his father away. The worst was taking his mother away, because that was the one person that Stephen had his entire life who supported him. But now taking his father, that's salt in the wound. And Earl's defense of he filed elderly abuse against me. What you're doing is elder abuse. I don't know Alan's medical status. I don't know if he has any kind of Alzheimer's. Um, I so I don't know if Alan, like others in the family, like Barb and Brendan, if he can be manipulated. So I don't know if you were to talk to Alan, if he now at this point would say he doesn't want to see Stephen, because I don't know what Earl has been doing to Alan. But that is elder abuse, in my opinion, because I know that Alan had been going to see Stephen pretty regularly since Dolores died. Earl, you know how to reach out to me because you've done it in the past. You've also posted before here on Stephen Avery Project. This page is a public page, and anybody can comment here as long as you are a follower. Our usual rule here is you cannot talk negatively about Stephen, but I will let you, Earl, say whatever it is you want to say here. We could do a live video together if you would like. Hear it straight from your mouth. What you got? Why would you take Stephen's father from him when he's been incarcerated for 20 years now? 20 years. 18 years before that. Dolores and Bandit. Yeah, so that's one of the pictures I have is when I visited with Dolores. I got a picture with Bandit. She loved that dog. Um, so yeah, I wanted to go live because another development of uh, Earl trying to now defend himself after I went live on Monday. Earl, I'll come up. I'll come up to Manitowoc and talk to you in person. I'm I'm not afraid of Earl Avery. Um, even though he likes to assault children and women, um, as evidenced by the things that I read to you earlier. If anybody sees Earl make posts anywhere else in talking about this situation, please send it to us here at Stephen Avery Project. So you can send it to this Facebook page, or you can send it to our Gmail, which is official Stephen Avery Project at gmail.com. Or if it's easier for you to remember, I also have justicewithjax at gmail.com. So I will give you that opportunity, Earl, to tell us directly why you think it's okay to take Alan from Stephen. Bryce says new series each week, truth about a different Avery family member. Oh boy, there's lots. We talked about it on Monday, but there's a video I did when I went up to Manitowoc and talked with a family member, and where she told me that she was raped by Chuck and also witnessed Chuck raping two of his daughters. So you can watch that video straight from her. Lots on this family. Lots. And the bottom line is Stephen, the one that's in prison, has the least. There's no accusations of Stephen sexually assaulting anyone. Both his brothers, the two who got the salvage yard. Oh my God, the chicks every time. And goodbye, Earl. Na 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 na. No, we're not going to listen to me sing. So if you see Earl now out there trying to do damage control, please send it my way. I'd like to see what he says. Earl can reach out to me himself. Barb, you know how you can get a hold of me. So Barb, who recently in the last few months went back into our MAM gossip group, we allowed her back in. I know she's using a different name. What is it now? Barbara Ann. Okay, Gary. Um, what does me having a rainbow shawl have to do with my support of Stephen? We are not going there. And you will just get yourself banned from here. Not a bigot, not a homophobe. So leave that shit out of here. I'm proud of my pride. Um, don't care who it offends. What does my pride have to do with Stephen? Nothing. I have pride every day of the year. But what is the purpose of this? It's a frickin' shawl. So when I'm up here, if I'm cold, I can put it on. Fuck off. Anyway, sorry, distracted by the hater. Um, Barb Ann. Thank you, Christopher. Oh, my thing's not properly displayed now that I know that it's triggering the snowflake. I need to make sure that it's because it's not up here as a statement. It's up here for if I'm cold. But now that I know that it's bothering somebody, let's make sure it's displayed. Um anyway, back to Stephen and Earl. Bottom line, Earl doesn't have to like Stephen. Stephen doesn't have to like Earl, but you shouldn't be keeping his dad from him. If there was a valid reason Alan didn't want to visit Stephen, that's different. But as I said, I don't know at this time what you can believe. What manipulation has Earl done to Alan? Um, Marie, why, despite clear evidence, does the U.S. court refuse to grant Stephen Avery a new trial? Because our system sucks and that there's corruption at every level. And it seems to be that they protect their own. And I also hate that these cases go back to a judge that originally ruled against you. So you're basically wanting a judge to say, oh, we were wrong. I was wrong. Let's change this. But Kathleen has said it typically takes her, I never remember the number, it's like 15, 16 years to overturn a wrongful conviction. Kathleen has only been doing Stephen's case since January of 2016. And hello, Jackie, a fellow Jackie. How are they keeping Stephen's dad from him? Stephen's dad cannot drive himself anywhere, so somebody has to take him. And Earl has power of attorney. Denise, you can't say it's anybody's specific fault. Our system has been like this forever. So many wrongful convictions. So, people can have their thoughts on political parties, Republican, Democrat. We're not getting into politics here. I don't want to hear people support or against this president or that president. It's just been this way a long, long time. Look at Stephen going the first time for Penny Bernstein, who was president at that time. The president has nothing to do with Stephen's cases. Our system is horrible, and it's that thin blue line, and these people cover for each other. And in order to get back into court, to be able to get a new trial, you have to show new evidence that hasn't been used before. So when you show that There's no Teresa Halbach DNA on the key. When they don't let you back into court for that, now you can't use that again. You have to find other new evidence. It's it's so frustrating. And our legal system should be about truth and justice, but it's not. It's convictions. Somebody has to be held accountable, period. And in Stephen's case, Stephen was suing them for $36 million. Very disgraceful, Marie. Um, I don't have any faith in our system here. Last week I was just in court Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for another one of my wrongful conviction cases. Um, there's so much evidence that she is innocent, but we can't get back into court. Shane, I do not know why. Allegedly the property was sold. There's conflicting reports on that if it was sold. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. I know that Chuck's tired and doesn't want to work anymore. I'm not faulting him for that. How old is Chuck? Um, but he wants to retire. He's the one that's doing the bulk of the work. Earl's not doing dick. Um, so I get wanting to sell the salvage yard and making the money off of it if there's money to be made and retiring. So I don't fault Chuck or even Earl if they wanted to sell the salvage yard. But there's conflicting reports on what is going on with the salvage yard. And Stephen's not told the truth on that. Stephen's not told the truth on a lot of the stuff that goes on there. I believe that Stephen thinks that the family still owns it. Kim says it says Badgerland owns it. Interesting. Um, Kim is somebody who's been following this case since it happened, right? Not just making a murderer. Kim, you've been there um, from the start, I believe. Um, I'm not upset with the family if they sold the salvage yard. I'm not upset with the family if they don't talk to Stephen about it. The family does have to live their lives. They can't hold on to the salvage yard because Stephen hopes to go free one day and he would like to um, run the salvage yard when he's free. But the family can't live their lives with the maybe Stephen will get out one day. So um, I'm not upset with them if they sell the salvage yard. Um, I'm not upset with them for not wanting to argue with Stephen over it. Stephen would be very upset about it and would yell and carry on. I get it. Um, but Stephen has a right to be upset about it because it's one more thing from his life that he loves that's taken from him. So if he's mad at his brothers and wants to yell at him about it, he's got that right. Yelling at you are just words. I don't get why um you're so bothered by that. You don't have to take his phone calls. Obviously, you can block somebody from a prison from calling you. So Stephen really doesn't have any access to you, but you should not cut off his access to his father. That's his father, too. Period. All right, I think I'm going to call this one to a close. I just wanted to bring attention to that um, Earl's trying to defend himself. Oh wait, Mary. Okay, so let me talk about Kathleen Zellner. I know I'm for people who watch my videos regularly, I know I sound like a broken record, but we get the same questions a lot. So I always like to cover these things. So for Kathleen, I have to talk about um Kathleen Zellner is still with Stephen's case. She's not leaving Stephen's case. Our system sucks, and there's going to be many years you will hear nothing happening in this case because there's our process is long and nothing is happening. There's no updates to be had. So just because you don't hear anything on the case does not mean that Kathleen has left the case. Um, so Kathleen is still with the case. She's got her website, KathleenTZellner.com. She has a page that on her website that is dedicated to Stephen's case where you can reach out to her. You can donate. You can, she's got information on how to put money on Stephen's commissary. When is Stephen going to get out? We don't know that he ever will because our system is so horrible. I don't know how to pronounce your name, so my apologies to. Let me. Oh, it just. Meja from Helsinki. What do we know about their conditions? When I just talked to Stephen on Monday, I asked him how this prison is compared to the last one he was in, and he said it was way better. I do not know what kind of activities, education, all that, um, that Stephen or Brendan do have in prison because I do not have contact with them. So I do not know what they do. I can only tell you from years ago when I used to talk with both of them, neither one of them had jobs at the prison. Stephen had jobs before at prison, but then especially after Making a Murder came out and so much was going on, um, that he didn't have a job. I don't know if either one of them currently have jobs. I do not know if either one of them take part of any educational opportunities, any of that. I don't know. I can't answer those questions. Um so if I hear from Earl, we will let you all know and schedule another live to talk about either what I've heard from Earl or maybe we're scheduling where I'll talk to Earl. Oh, isn't he in the same prison with Chris Watts? I believe I heard that too, Chelsea, now that you say that. Um, so I've also, maybe I'll start trying to do some more live videos. Not every day or anything like that. And also, I have a job, a full time job. So I'm not available to go live all the time. Um, but we tried to schedule an event and give you guys all notice so people can show up here to be live. And then I also then uh, um, download this Facebook Live to my Justice with Jax YouTube because Facebook now only leaves videos up for 30 days. Um, no worries, Kim. I know these things, everything changes, and uh, hear one thing, and and that's the whole thing, like with the sale of it, period. Oh, Shane is asking me, did they get any money from Making a Murderer? Yes, they did. For Making a Murderer 1, they got next to nothing. And then for Making a Murderer 2, they got more, but I believe it is contingent on their release. Don't hold me to it. I know we've talked about it before. Um, so neither one of them are rich. I can't say what the documentarians made on it. And I'm not holding anything against them for making money off of making a murderer. Those two women, they were in Manitowoc for how long and did all that filming, and I and um they were there when the case was happening in like 2005, 2006, and then Making a Murderer didn't come out until December of 2015. So for 10 years they were like working on this and trying to find funding for it and all of that. So, and if not for these women, there would not be all these supporters for Stephen and Brendan. So I do not begrudge the documentarians um any money or success that they have from the documentary. So, um, Stephen wouldn't have Kathleen Zellner if not for that documentary, because he went to Kathleen Zellner years before and she didn't take his case. And then Making a Murderer came out, and you were able to see Kathleen, so Kathleen came on to Stephen's case in January, the next month after Making a Murderer came out. So, and Kathleen will only take cases when she knows the person is innocent. And there you have it. So, all right. I'm going to end this video. We will update you if we hear from Earl or any developments in that. If I decide to do another live to talk about it, like we've done things where we would just call it Ask Jax Anything, where I would just sit here and read your comments and questions and then answer them to the best of my ability. So maybe we'll schedule something like that. You can go on Justice with Jack's YouTube page and go watch our videos, all the videos I've made over these, oh my gosh, 10 years that I've been here doing this. You've got my book that you could get to read my experience with the case, Wrongfully Abused, on Amazon. I'll leave you with this tease that I know I put in the book. You can read in my book of one of the times when I visited with Stephen, and somebody walked past Stephen and I, and they said hello to Stephen. And Stephen said hello back to her. And then she went and sat down with who she was visiting. And Stephen asked me if I knew who that was. And I said no. And he told me it was one of Teresa Halbach's sisters. So you can read in my book on what he told me about Teresa Halbach's sister. I'll give you that little tease. Thank you, everybody who supports Stephen. Thank you, everybody who was on this live video today. Thank you to those who will watch it later. Thank you to those who clicked for the stars to show your support for this page. Thank you, Earl, for watching. And I hope to hear from you to explain yourself and why you're stopping Stephen from talking to your dad. All right, stay warm, everybody. Stay out of the snow. And until next time, investigation continues.